We're now with the Election Commission, the last hearing of the week. Schools, we still got schools
That's
to go. If you could introduce yourself, your colleagues, and then give us how your year's been, and then tell us about your budget thoughts.
Thank you, Mayor Dean and Director Riebling and Deputy Mayor Highnote. To my left is Election Commission Chairman Lynn Greer. To my right is our Finance Manager, Bill Hayden. Bill recently came over to us from the Department of Finance. That followed the retirement of Pat Novotny. We miss Pat greatly, but we're glad to have Bill with us. I have some, and Commissioner Hine with us as well. And we may have other commissioners step in momentarily. A brief recap of the last fiscal year. At this time last year, we were in the midst of redistricting at the county level. We implemented the new Metro Council districts and the school board districts on an accelerated time frame in advance of the August 2011 election. We were able to complete the tasks in that tight time frame in part because of the very capable assistance of the planning department and the Metro IT department. We very much appreciate their help. One of the things we had to do in that situation was to develop an alternate method of verifying nominating petitions before the council districts were entered into our database. And again, that was the planning department that helped us with that. Another accomplishment last year was the August Metro election. That ballot had 112 candidates for 42 Metro offices, as well as the Fairgrounds referendum. After that election, we had a runoff for 5 council district seats, and it's my understanding that was the first time in Metro history that we did not have a countywide runoff. The state legislature made several substantive changes to Tennessee election laws in 2011. The most significant change was the advent of the photo ID law. Senior Election Commission staff and some commissioners went out and spoke to over 25 different groups about complying with that law, how to comply with that law. We accepted every invitation we received to do that. We also mailed information on how to comply with that law to about 9,600 Davidson County voters that we knew did not have photos on their driver's license. We trained about 1,000 poll officials on the specifics of the new photo ID law in preparation for the presidential preference election that we just had on March 6th, which was our first election under the new law. In Davidson County, there were very few problems with the implementation of the new law. We voted about 52,000 people. That's about 15% of our registered voters. Looking forward to fiscal year 13, we'll have 2 elections next year, the August 2nd election, which is a state primary and a county general, and then the November 6th presidential and state general election. We anticipate a typically high turnout in November, but we expect a typically low turnout in August. This year, we are again in the midst of redistricting, this time implementing the new state house and state senate districts. Again, we're working closely with planning on these initial tasks. After those initial tasks are complete, we'll again work with the Metro IT department to update our voter database. As part of the redistricting, we'll mail out approximately 300,000 new voter ID cards to active Davidson County voters. That will take place in early July. We've recently improved our mailing procedures to save some money on those large mailings. We are asking for 4% money to purchase electronic poll books. Electronic poll books are a small touchscreen computer with an associated printer that will replace about 700 plus one-time use paper poll books that we print and bind each election and then store thereafter. There are some significant savings associated with moving to electronic poll books in several areas. But I believe the greatest benefit to deploying the electronic poll books is that they will eliminate many of the current opportunities for human error. I visited Shelby County in October of 2011 and saw the Shelby County poll officials using them. They were working well, and I think that is the way to go. We will begin putting campaign finance disclosures online with the acquisition of a new scanner to make digital images of the disclosure statements. This will require the purchase of a new scanner. This item doesn't currently appear in our budget, but we're working with the finance department to make sure the appropriate modification for this item is done. The online filing of reports is a very different step that requires additional software. We are still studying that issue to find the best approach. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You have the 2% reduction. If we do that, you think you can just absorb that?
I'm going to toss that question to Bill. I believe we can. That's going to come out of temporary. Bill, any comments on that?
Yes, sir, we can do it.
And then you have a small improvement you're requesting too, 15,000?
That's correct. Software license renewals, new copier lease.
Well, I mean, my sense was that you all did a great job with redistricting the metro level. I mean, I think both the planning commission and you all were under a real tight time constraint and got it done, and very few, I really almost went without complaint, which is not a common occurrence on that type of issue. So that was very good. And coming up, you've obviously got the big presidential election, and then the sort of the smaller election in August. But pretty straightforward budget requests here, and I have no questions. I'm fine.
Complicated budget because you have the non-recurring, because
Right.
each year you have
Yes,
different,
sir.
depends on
Right.
which elections you have
Right.
that year. And so this year you only have 2 elections, and last year you had, or the current year you had
Sometimes it's
3 or
1,
4.
sometimes it's 2,
Yeah,
sometimes it's
yeah,
3.
Yeah, so you have a smaller number, you have the big election, but then that's it. And for that one right now, obviously that's going to be the most expensive, and you're looking at like 13 early voting sites, and for 14 days, that's at least what's in the budget. Obviously, the commission has to vote on that at some point in time.
That's
But
correct.
you will expand the early voting sites for the presidential election, obviously.
That's correct.
The time and the number of them, just to accommodate the voters,
Yes.
which is good. So I think, I agree with the mayor, I think it's
Pretty straightforward.
pretty straightforward,
Well
and,
presented.
I agree with both of you.
good cooperation, and we appreciate everything. Doing a good job, Albert.
I want to thank Councilman Bedney has been here for,
And we, best to you, Bill, we're glad you're there. We missed Pat. She's a long-serving Metro employee, so.
I understand
In a
that.
lot of different roles, so.
You have small shoes to fill.
Yes,
Yeah, well, I worked with Pat at O&B when I first started there 10
Right.
years ago, and yeah, she's going to be missed.
all right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, they stole a good person from my staff. I
Yes, sir.
might
Yes, sir,
add,
we did.
so-
Thank you.
Yeah.